Welcome to sewing class. This is Annette Julie, and today we are working on patching a hole. So you would have needed to watch the video on how to prepare your swatches. I've got my 5x10, my 4 1/4 by 4 1/4, which I have ironed. It's now 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. My 3x3, which I have pressed also, and it is 2x2 now. And this is all based around a nickel size hole. So we're going to use that nickel as a guide for our hole. Okay, so find the middle of your swatch, of your rectangle. You can measure, but you can also just fold. Looks like a good place right there. I'm going to take my nickel and I'm going to go ahead and trace this off and give myself a little template. So that's what I'm going to want to cut out. Now let's go ahead and fold it back up in quarters. And let's cut out that little circle. And you can cut it out smaller if you'd like to. You can cut it out on the inside of that little line. Here we go. Now we've created a nice hole. So we're going to call this here the wrong side of our fabric. And we're going to call this our right side of our fabric. So on the wrong side of the fabric, you're going to use the small patch. Okay? And you're going to sew that first. And on the right side of the fabric, we're going to use a larger patch. And it's going to be centered over the smaller patch. Okay, wrong side's going to have 2 stitch lines on it. Right side, just this one big stitch line, and the hole's going to be inside. Okay, so let's get started. We've got our little patch here, and like I said, you want to make sure that you're centering it right over that hole. That looks good. Let's go ahead and grab some pins. And we're going to pin this patch in place. And we're doing this on the wrong side of the fabric right now. Okay? Now we're going to do an edge stitch starting in one of the corners. And I want to get right on that edge, a 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch away. So if you're just starting to learn how to sew, let's go with an 1/8. And I do see a little bit of that fabric sticking out, so let me try to tuck it in right now. Okay, we're ready to go, but let's remove that pin because it's going to be in our way. Now we're going to do an edge stitch from the top to the bottom of our patch. We're doing a regular stitch. We're at 2.5. We're coming to the edge, and you want to stop before you go to the edge. So you know what? The last stitch, that was looking good right there. Let's turn the corner, and we're pivoting, and we have to check it out to see, did we go far enough? And honestly, it does really look like I can go one more stitch, but maybe a half. There we go. We turn with the needle down. Now I'm going to go ahead and sew to the next corner. remove my pin. Coming close to the corner, you can walk that last stitch. Press your foot up. We're going to check it out. Looks like I can still go one more stitch or a half a stitch. Okay. Now let's try that. Let's go ahead and pivot and stitch our edge stitch. Coming to the next corner, walk the last couple stitches, have your foot on the pedal. I'm going to go ahead and trim because we're getting real close to rounding it around here. Trim those threads before we approach. Press your foot up. Let's do our last edge stitch. Let's walk our stitch. Okay, perfect. Now let's pivot. Okay, gotta go a little bit farther. Okay, that looks better. I'm going to pivot and look at it. Yep, I like that better. Now we're going to do a little forward and a little back stitch. That's looking good. We have finished the patch on the wrong side of the fabric. Trim those threads nice and close. Here's our edge stitch. There's the right side. Here's that wrong side. Now, let's go to the right side. And you're going to take your second swatch and you're going to place it over and you're going to center it over the other swatch that you have. So make sure you spend a little bit of time centering it, making sure that it's going over on all sides, right about 3/4 of an inch. Good, now let's go ahead and grab some pins, and let's get some pins in there. It's going to be a little harder this time because you've got a lot of layers to get through. I find that 2 pins is sufficient. If you'd like to use more, you may. Now we're on the right side. We're going to go ahead and get our presser foot down and our needle positioned right on the edge. And we're going to do our edge stitch. Until we approach the corner. We can walk the last couple stitches. Let's check and see if that's close enough. I always want it closer, but sometimes messing with the stitch also gives it a weird loop. I think we'll go with that. Approaching the next corner. I think I will go one more stitch with this one. Here we go, edge stitch. Approaching the corner. Press your foot up, remove that last pin, and we'll do our final edge stitch. And a little back stitch to finish. And we have finished our double patching a hole. On the wrong side we have the 2 stitches, and on the right side we just have the stitching around the final patch. So that's the end of this video. This is Annette Julie, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.